Alright, well, it's at MiWilderness again. I'm here in my room. I had to come inside because it's just too noisy outside. Motorcycles, sirens, all this suburban terror that abounds. But even in, the city or suburbs, you can still get out there and find wild edibles to eat and stuff. And this is basically part 2 of my pineapple weed video, and what I really want to do with this video is just show you how I go about identifying plants for the table, and also in the process of doing that, show you how I go about learning about a lot of other plants, and more importantly plant families and genera of plants and such, which is really helpful in my opinion for plant ID and plant use. But this is the pineapple weed plant, and what I typically do is I'll read in a book about a certain plant that sounds interesting, or I'll see a video online, or somebody will mention a plant that they use, or maybe their parents or grandparents used as a kid or something, and I'll get curious about it and I'll investigate further. And what I typically do is the first book I usually go to, and I usually always go to a book first rather than the internet or some other questionable source, is Peterson's Field Guide to Edible Wild Plants of Eastern and Central North America. This book is very brief on each plant, but it contains a lot of plants, so it's a good go-to book for the field because it contains a lot of plants and it can give you a quick idea of what you might have. So we'll open this book up to page 90, and there we find pineapple weed, Matricaria matricarioides, a low, inconspicuous weed resembling wild chamomile but lacking the white ray petals or flowers. The flower heads smell of pineapple when crushed, 6 to 18 inches tall, found on roadsides and in waste places. I found this growing in my driveway. From southern Canada, south to Missouri, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. Flowers June through October. Uses as a tea. The fresh or dried flowers make a pale golden pineapple scented tea when steeped in water. Hot water. Excellent. And it is excellent. But that really doesn't tell you a whole lot. It gives you a little line drawing here, which is actually pretty good because it shows the shape of the leaf, and it also shows the shape of the flower head fairly well. And for this plant in particular, the line drawing is actually probably as good or better than a photograph. But this book leaves me wondering, it's like, I don't know, do I really have this plant? It really doesn't say much about it. So then I would go to my other book, which is Botany in a Day, The Patterns Method of Plant Identification by Thomas J. Elpel, Herbal Field Guide to Plant Families of North America. And of course, I always look in the index, which is here somewhere, for either the Latin or common name. In this case, I found the common name, and I went to page 167, and it says, well, we'll just sit it down here and I'll read it. Flowering plants division, Dicotyledon class, Aster subclass, Aster order, Chamomile tribe. The chamomile tribe includes some of the most richly aromatic plants of the Aster family. And to me that's what's important, is that it's in the Aster family, and the Aster family makes up just a huge amount of the plants you'll find in the world. It's the largest family of plants there is. Another distinguishing characteristic of this tribe of plants is that the bracts surrounding the flower base are somewhat scarious, meaning that they are thin, dry, and translucent, which may be more apparent when fully dried. Please note that members of the everlasting tribe also have scarious bracts, which are much more translucent, but the plants lack the odor characteristic of the chamomiles. If your specimen has both the odor and the translucent bracts, then it belongs with the chamomiles. Now, I haven't looked at this plant under a hand lens, and it's not dried, but it actually does appear that the bracts are typically the little green leafy structures that surround the flower head. I can't quite make it out because these are quite small, but if we look, we also see that Yarrow is in the same tribe, along with dog fennel, tarragon, the spice. I use tarragon spice. That's in the same tribe as pineapple weed. Oxeye daisy is also in there, and the plant that we have, pineapple weed. It says it's a sweet smelling herb often found in lawns and driveways. Well, I found it in a driveway. Milder than chamomile. It's an excellent tea. It's listed as a diaphoretic, antispasmodic, stimulant, and sedative. It's a mild remedy, safe for children, used for stomach pains, colds, fevers, and as a menstrual stimulant. It also is a lactose stimulant. It is said to aid in delivering the placenta. The aromatic constituents act as a mild anesthetic and antispasmodic to the mouth and stomach. Also carminative and anti-inflammatory. Some species are not aromatic. Now, some of the other references I have say that the leaves and the flowers smell of pineapple, but this one in particular, only the flowers have the smell. The leaves don't really have any smell whatsoever other than the green, green plant-like smell. You can crush up a grass leaf and it has the same smell, just green like chlorophyll. But this has helped me learn a little more about this plant. I know that it's in the Aster family now. I know that it's related to chamomile. I also know that it's related to yarrow and even tarragon, which is a household herb spice that we use. So, and also that it has some medicinal uses, which I would have to research further if I wanted to pursue the medicinal aspects of that plant. The next book I would go to is Steve Brill's Edible and Medicinal Plants in Wild and Not So Wild Places. And on page 37 he lists pineapple weed, and he also has another nice line drawing, a little more detailed than Peterson's guide, but it serves the same purpose. It shows the small flower heads that lack the petals that we typically see on a flower that we're used to seeing, and finely divided fern-like leaves. Many tiny yellow-green button-like disc flowers. It grows 4 to 18 inches tall and has fern-like leaves that are very finely divided into linear segments. Blah blah blah. I don't know what any of that means. Yellow green composite flower heads under a 1/2 inch across. That's what I'm looking for. These are yellow green flower heads and they're under a 1/2 inch across. And unlike its well-known relative chamomile, which is Matricaria chamomilla, it has no petal-like ray flowers. Well, there's no petal-like ray flowers on this plant, so that lets me think I probably have what I'm looking for. Grows on disturbed sites and on poor soil where there's plenty of sun. Well, it was growing in full sun and poor soil in my driveway. Let's see, what else does he have to say about it. Grows throughout most of North America. Use it fresh or dried. 1 tablespoon of fresh leaves, stems, and flowers per cup makes a wonderful chamomile-like beverage. He also goes on to say that a handful per cup is medicinal strength. And for me, like I said, I did a tall glass of hot water in the microwave, and then I added the fresh crushed flowers, about a tablespoon's worth, and it wasn't very strong. So for me, I think a handful would be much better. You'd get much more of that yummy pineapple-like sweet aromatic flavor. One of the best teas for relaxation after a stressful day. Well, I had a stressful day and I had a headache. And it says it's a nervine with a gentle calming effect on the nervous system. Also traditional for menstrual cramps. He also says that it's a carminative, improving digestion and relieving gas. And it's supposed to be an antiseptic used for colds and urinary tract infections. Some people, he has a caution, especially hay fever sufferers, may be allergic to this plant. And I think that's important when you're dealing with plants, especially when you start considering them for medicinal use, because a lot of the plants, this is not one, but a lot of the plants that are medicinal are actually toxic plants that can make you sick or even kill you or cause severe problems. And I think a lot of the online plant experts, and also some of the ones that write books and stuff, they're so wrapped up in trying to get everybody to buy into using wild plants that they tend to play down the seriousness that can come from using these plants. You need to know what you're doing, and if you're using them medicinally, you need to realize that they are true medicine. And just like any medicine that you can buy over the counter or get a prescription from a doctor, there are side effects and stuff that can go along with that. So you need to do your research and understand that. That's my point. And that's why I use all these different books, because I get a lot of different opinions, and from all those different opinions I can form an intelligent opinion of my own based on facts and based on the opinions of others. And that's why I'm making this video, is to try and stress that just because some guy online or in a video or in one book tells you that this plant can be used for that and it's safe and you don't have to worry that there's no poisonous lookalikes, you should really research that for yourself and be certain that what you think you're eating, in this case pineapple weed, is actually pineapple weed. And also do enough research to see, Is this plant safe for pregnant women? I mean, since it aids in childbirth and has something to do with delivering the placenta, this might not be a good plant for a pregnant woman to take. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But you do need to do that research. And I'm not trying to scare you away from harvesting wild plants and using them either as food, tea, or medicinally, or for whatever purpose. I just want to hopefully remind you, or at least put the thought in your head that you could be poisoned. Even though a plant is perfectly edible, maybe you are allergic to it. You never know. You need to do some research and find out. And once I have identified this plant as pineapple weed, then I'll go to this book, or I'll go online and I'll look for uses of a certain plant that I've found. And this book is called Abundantly Wild by Teresa Marone. I believe it was Sam Thayer that recommended this book in his book, and I thought, you know, I respect that guy and I enjoy his writing and his approach, so I'm going to get this book, and I really haven't found a lot of use for it. My main interest is in identifying the plants and finding more utilitarian type uses for them rather than just simply eating them or making tea. But that's good to know too, you know. I mean, I like eating wild plants and stuff, but I like to know all about the plants. But this is a good book that has a lot of recipes and stuff for plants. And she has pineapple weed listed. She goes and she says it's Matricaria discoidea or Matricaria matricarioides. So there's two Latin names that this could fall under. And reason I point that out is when I do online research, I find that I get more factual results when I enter the Latin name into the search engine. Typically what I will do is I'll enter the Latin name along with the word facts, and that typically gives me a better, at least in my opinion, a better founded search result rather than typing in pineapple weed and getting everything under the sun from pineapple to weed to trips to Hawaii or who knows what. But if you put in the Latin name and facts or the Latin name and uses, you generally get much better search results. At least that's what I've found. But what she says is the plant resembles its relative chamomile, but the flowers are lacking the white petals again. Yellowish greenish head set into a cup. Now she says a proportionally large rounded yellowish green head set into a cup, and she does show a nice little photo of the flower and the leaves. And of all the books I have quite a few more than what I'm showing you here. Of all the books I have, even though this is simply just a recipe book, it's not an identification book, her photo is the best of all the books I have. But she also says that it grows 6 to 18 inches tall, and as with chamomile, the flower heads and leaves smell strongly of pineapple when crushed. Harvest and use as described for chamomile above. Right above that, she lists chamomile, which is Matricaria chamomile, and she said this is probably the best known of the wild teas. It's grown commercially to make tea that is available in the supermarket, blah 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 blah. She says she drinks chamomile tea. She drinks chamomile tea when she has an upset stomach and that others use it for a mild headache. Now, this is the only book or anything that I've found that says that it is used for a headache, and sure enough, I had a headache yesterday, and as soon as I finished the glass of pineapple weed tea, my headache was gone instantly. So it could be a placebo effect, but I hadn't read all this before I drank that tea, so I think it's probably true. I think it worked for my headache. But that's pretty much it. I mean, these are some good books. Abundantly Wild by Teresa Marone. Edible and Medicinal Plants by Wildman Steve Brill with Evelyn Dean. Botany in a Day by Thomas J. Elpel. And my only field guide for wild plants, Peterson Field Guides, Edible Wild Plants of Eastern and Central North America by Lee Allen Peterson. And there's my pineapple weed. I think I'm going to go out and gather up a bunch more of these and make me a strong batch of medicinal tea this time. I'm going to get a whole handful and throw it in a tall glass of hot water and let it steep. I know this video is a bit long, and but I can't really fit it into any shorter amount of time. But I did want to show you these books, and I did want to give you an idea of how I go about identifying wild plants, both for the table and for use in the field as tools or rope or what have you. I hope that helps, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.